What's up, guys? So welcome back to our week live event. It's good to see everybody again. Hope everyone had a great week. I'm trying to relax. I've just been so busy. Hope everyone having a good day. All right, guys, we're going to give it a minute for everyone to kind of chop on. And then, we'll answer some questions. We'll talk about different things going on. Anyone wants to talk about their deals, they want to review any of their deals or have any tax problems, any insurance problems, any credit problems, refinance problems. What's up, man? Ask. I'll be happy to help you guys, okay? Hope everyone had a blessed week. It's been a pretty solid week. I'm currently in the process of buying the $7.5 million project. I'm out meeting with other investors, raising money for the project, raising $3 million for that project. It's a 7.5 cap property, 31,000 square feet. It's like in the heart of downtown, super desirable area. Like current value, it's worth like 11.5 million. We're getting it for about 7.5 million. Really, really cool stuff. We're looking at another piece of land, about 0.7 of an acre, for about $500,000, $550,000, and that one we're looking to build like 15 units on it. It's right next to this big project that's going to be going up right by the water, so that's going to be an awesome deal and up and coming area. There's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be good stuff coming, and just. Here to talk about my deals, here to talk about your deals, for us to grow together. So, all right, Sean Douglas. Let's see what Sean wants to ask. George, what's up? $7.5 million deal is going good. I'm meeting with more clients this weekend, so ask questions. I'll be happy to answer. What's up, brother? What's going on?
So recently I seen your post about a property that you own, and you had a lawyer change into a multifamily, right? Remember that post?
Which property? I mean, we're looking at a lot of properties.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it was one that, I could be confusing you with somebody else in real estate, but I know somebody bought a single family, how the lawyer converted to a multi, and they like 3x the property value. So I want to be able to do something like that in Philly.
So you can do it. So, all right. So, yes, that's something you can do. It's not hard. There's a reason why I say buying multi-units is better in doing value add. Now, if you can buy a single unit, make it a double or a triple, or even a 4-unit, that makes you a lot more money. How I made so much money on my 16 unit is because when I bought it, it was like 7 and I made it 16. So I made it and I turned it around, and now, I'm in for like 2 million, but it's worth 4 million. So, it is about finding it's called highest and best use. So right now you're looking at single families to like 3-unit or 4-unit properties. You can actually buy a piece of property or a house and make it into an office. You can take a commercial property and make it into residential. So that's called highest and best use. And when you're able to find those deals, when everyone else can't like see it, they don't have the vision, that's when you can make a lot of money. So when you do that, you got to be careful about just zoning. So just because there's a house there doesn't mean it's not zoned for multi-units. Just because there's multi-units down the street doesn't mean your house can be converted. So don't assume that. You got to do your research. About 3 years ago, there was a house that I bought, and I wanted to convert it to a multi-units. And there's a bunch of duplexes on the street, like a whole bunch. What happened is when I looked into it, it was at least a 6-month wait before I can get permitted to make that change. And I was like, I can't sit on this property that I bought for $220 for 6 months and then do the work. So I just said, let me just, make, upgrade it, make a really nice single family home and sell it.
Okay. Okay. So, tell me, what are your thoughts on? I was trying to figure out a way to, like creative financing where maybe I have an LLC in Delaware, and I want to get like business credit or like a line of credit or a loan from opening up a checking account with maybe like mid-sized banks or credit unions.
Mm-hmm.
You think I could do something like that?
So repeat the question.
So like, okay, so basically what I'm doing is I was watching a few videos on like business credit, and somebody mentioned that you can open an LLC, then go get a bank account with like a mid-size to and use the line of credit or a loan to get your first rental property.
So, all right. So I get opening up a business checking account in your LLC's name and so on, putting money in a bank account, establishing a relationship with that bank. Yeah, it makes sense. Now, where they're saying getting a line of credit, normally when you have a new business, your line of credit is based off of your personal credit, not the business's history. And when you're looking at that credit card is usually, or that line of credit is just like a credit card, guys. It's not much different. So when you're looking at that line of credit, it isn't going to be a crazy amount of money. You maybe get 10, 15 grand. So if you're going to use that 10, 15 grand to buy your first deal, it isn't going to be much of a deal. It isn't going to be something that's, $150,000, $200,000. Now it could be if you're going to do like an FHA loan where it's 3.5% down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like using that money to help with the down payment.
So this is the situation. If you take money out of your business for your down payment, it doesn't matter if it's a line of credit. It doesn't matter if it's cash. It doesn't matter what it's for. The rule is that you cannot use that money without a CPA letter saying it is not going to hurt your business. So what happens is the government wants to make sure that you're not taking too much money out of your business and end up actually hurting the business because you don't have enough cash to keep the business moving. So what you would need to do, so that's a problem, and you have to be able to get a CPA letter to say, no, it's not going to mess up your business by taking this money out. At that time, when you're doing that, you could also just take the money out of the line of credit, let it sit in your personal checking account for 2 months, and then it's seasoned. At that point, it is not business money anymore. Now it's personal money. But underneath 2 months, it's still business money that you put into your personal account. You got to season it, and you still got to get the CPA letter. So it's possible. Yes, it is possible, but it is, as you are aware, it is highly risky because you got a loan to buy this property. And at that point, it's assuming you have no money to fix up the property, because if you just use that line of credit as a down payment, that means you probably don't have any cash to fix the place up. You got no money left over. That's a problem to be in, because how are you in a financial situation that you have no savings? That's a very sticky position to be in, that you have no savings at all, and you're going to get this line of credit for 10 or 15,000, use it to put down. If anything goes wrong, where are you going to get more money? Then you're going to use more credit cards to pay for this stuff. And on a multi-unit, when you're buying it, your cash flow is not crazy. So it's not like you can go and pay back your 8%, 10, 12% business loan, and to pay off your credit card that's going to be like 18%. It's unless you found an amazing deal. Remember, rule number 1, find an amazing deal. Because if you find an amazing deal, that means there's a ton of equity in it. And then you could probably cash out refi and pay off all the debt, or you can get a partner to give you the money, and there's going to be a lot of money to save up. Like there's a lot of equity in that deal, so people are willing to give you the money, and you'll be able to actually make the deal happen. So it is possible, right? The scenario, this is the thing. I think the person has to have the cash to put down. And the person has to have extra cash on the side in case anything happens. Now you have that cash. You can still use the line of credit to pay for the remodel, but you better have that cash sitting in the bank account in case something happens so you can front it. Because like I said, if the market tanks, when the market tanks, they're going to shut all lines of credits. They're going to shrink them. So say they give you 15K and you're relying on using that for whatever, they're going to drop that down to 10 or 5. So you better have the cash in your account, because if they do shut that line of credit down, you still have the cash there to do it, to get the job done and finish your remodel and so on.
Okay. So let's say if I go to a bank and I get a business line of credit, I open a checking account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on my personal credit. So if my personal credit isn't satisfactory enough for them, how long would it take to get the loan or line of credit or credit card or whatever?
I mean, it's as fast as a credit card, like a week. Unless that bank is a small bank and they actually have like an actual person be the credit analyst, and they do their own research on you. So then they might ask you to supply documents. But if it's just a computer, generated approval, then at that point, it could be like, again, approval within 2 to 3 days, and you have the card by 7.
Okay, so and the reason why I was looking at like other ways of doing this, because I know you mentioned like FHAs and NACA. I actually have an appointment with NACA, but it's only in August. But yeah, like it feels like going the FHA loan route is a longer process.
It is, and a lot of, like, what state are you in?
I'm in New York.
New York. So in Florida right now, we are very behind. Not behind. It's not the right term. It's been a long day. In Florida, we got a lot of people down here trying to buy property. And if you have an FHA loan, you're on like the back of the list of them considering you. They're going to, a lot of people are buying houses cash right now. And then the other options are people are putting down like 50% or 30% or 25%. With an FHA loan, when you put down less than 20%, there's a lot more hoops to jump through. So especially if you're only putting down 3.5%, they're like, well, we don't know if this is going to go through. It's a 6 to 8 week process before it gets closed, and so on. If you're a seller, you don't want to have to go through all that. It's a very tough time for a lot of sellers, in the sense that it's an uncomfortable thing because they don't buy and sell properties often. So they want to be as clean as possible when they're doing a deal. This is not to deter you from doing an FHA loan. I'm just saying, be prepared that yes, when you are doing an FHA loan, it is a longer process. It takes more time, and you have to find a seller that's eager to sell and desperate to sell. Because if you find someone that has a great property, they have a ton of people interested, and they're going to go with the easiest deal unless they end up really liking you. So, that's why I tell people, you got to read the book, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because big part of the real estate game is if someone likes you, they're willing to give you a shot.
Okay. And so my last question is, what's the best way to, I did have the software where I would like put in all of my what repairs needed to be done on the property, and it would give me an estimate. But I didn't know how accurate it was. What's like the best way to get repair estimates?
Like have a GC, start working a relationship with a GC, and you can just ask them, and they can give you like a rough idea. Like me, I've done this since I was 14. So like I can walk through and like know what it's going to cost. And like I can see something, and I can look at drywall and like and see how it looks, the type of way it looks. And I can tell you if there's a leak, if it's a roof leak, if it's a pipe leak, if it's, a mold problem. And I can even tell like if the wood is probably going to be bad behind it as well. Like, like you just, when you're looking at so many deals, and talking to so many people, you start building that ability to tell. So once you run enough scenarios and you ask how much on average does a guest bathroom cost to remodel, they're going to give you a quote, $5K. On average, I'm talking full remodel, like plumbing, tub, tile, vanity, everything. Master, $7 to $10K. Kitchen, $15K. When we're talking about like cabinets, granite, appliances, flooring, all that stuff. And again, that's kind of like a rough idea of what it's going to cost. Now, if you're doing a deal and you're like barely covering it, right? Then you don't have that plus or minus 25%, because believe me, it's plus or minus 25%. And usually it's plus, So, and that's why a lot of times they're like, Pascal, why didn't you do too many deals? Or why don't you do this deal or that deal? I'm like, if that deal only has $20,000 of profit, I don't want it. Because I'm not looking to like have all this work for $25,000 of profit, because again, normally I'm doing like, $3, $4, $5, $800,000 properties. So you do one thing wrong or one thing's off and bam, you're like, it's done. You lost all your profit, And I'm not looking to do a hobby anymore. I'm looking to make money.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you, my man.
You're welcome, brother.
In my calendar, it always lets me know when you're coming on live.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you. All right, good talk. Good talk. All right, so let's answer some questions on YouTube. George says, "How is this $7.5 million deal going?" It's going good, George. It's definitely going in the right direction. I'm meeting with more investors Friday, and we're talking about, they want to, do the deal with me, and we're talking about like the details and how much money they want to invest. George also says, "Where do you find the people to raise the money? What does the process look like?" Well, most of the people actually word of mouth. Like a lot of people know me, and they know people. And I have a, track record since I was 19, 16 years of doing this and getting good properties, like really great locations. So when you have that type of track record and you're like, they see all the different stuff you own and all the different stuff you do, you kind of have like a name that, that people can trust you and that you do a quality job, and, it helps. So Ronald says, "Do you have to pay taxes on a cash out refinance?" No. Oscar says, "Hi, Pascal. Do you run your Airbnbs under a business entity? Do you need to have the properties under the entity name?" So you do not need to have the properties in a business name to be listed on Airbnb or to use the Airbnb system. If you do have it as an LLC, does the LLC that is registered on Airbnb need to match the LLC that owns the property? No, because you can have an LLC that is actually the property management company that collects all the money and have a separate LLC that is the owner of that property. So you can't have a property management LLC and a LLC that owns the property. So it can be separate. Is that necessary or needed? Usually not really, like not until you're pretty. Sal says, "Prices are so inflated. Does it make more sense to buy land and build new homes?" It depends the area that you're in, because buying land and building a new home, if there's no one that's willing to buy it, you could end up being in for more money than people are willing to pay for the property. Luckily today, there's a shortage of real estate, and which is causing the prices to be in demand. Again, just make sure location, 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 because that's going to really determine if people want to buy the property. Just because you could build it for 250 doesn't mean anyone's willing to pay 250 for it. There's also the concept of what's called build to rent. So build to rent means you're building a property just for renting it, not because you want to sell it and make the money that way. So you can actually build fourplexes from scratch and then rent them out. That's actually what we're going to be doing now with another one of our projects. I mentioned this 0.7 of an acre. We're looking to build about 15 units. So I'm actually looking to put in like 5 lots and put a triplex on each, 3 townhouses. So, and then we're going to keep the whole package and rent them out. Maybe later we'll sell some, who knows? Is Airbnb better than VRBO? They have different demographics. So Airbnb is more of like the shorter term, but VRBO is longer. But the crazy thing is, like, for me, I get 1 month bookings. Like, I just had someone right now send me a message wanting to book for 3 months next year. From January to March next year for 2022, they want to book for 3 months. So it's cool and it's awesome. But normally VRBO is long-term and Airbnb is short-term. So it's kind of funny. And now the stuff I've been getting from VRBO are all 1 week stays. So it's like, again, it's interesting how for me it's kind of been backwards. Zach says, I'm 24 and have about 20K, and I want to put 3% down to buy a duplex. Live in one floor and rent out the other. The problem is I have no experience. Should I just do some research and do it, or bad idea? No, Zach, I bought my first multi-unit at 19 years old. I did a lot of studying. I found out a lot of information about it, and then I did it. And no matter how much you study, you're never going to be prepared. It is, a lot of it is just doing it and experiencing it and figuring out the problems right away. Just make sure you have extra cash saved up, because when something goes wrong, you're going to need the money to fix it. You need credit cards to fix it. So you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation. Just make sure that you're making enough money as well from your job to cover the expenses and from the property. So you want to make sure that you have extra money coming in from your job and from the cash flow from the rental. Because if you're 24 and you're starting this business, there's a good chance that you're going to end up getting tenants that will not pay you. And you need to prepare for that. You're going to probably have bad judgment on who you're going to rent to. You might get super desperate to rent it out and end up renting it to the first person that comes in, and they're not the right person. A lot of times you got to say no more than you say yes. Or you're going to let friends live there and then they're not going to pay you. So I think you've heard me a lot that the people are not going to pay you. And, in this situation, you are going to be paying all those bills. So if you don't want to be, paying everyone's bills, you better be careful who you pick. But at the same time, happens to the best of us where we make these mistakes. So you better be prepared to be able to cover it out of your pocket until you figure this out. So study a lot and go for it. All right, John wants to ask some questions. People who ask to go live get answered first. Then in the question section, I answer those questions second.
Hey, Scott, how you doing, man?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much for putting me on the live. I just had a couple questions for you, and just hopefully you can answer them for me, because I think on your level they're simple, but it's important to know. I feel like reading online, like you just said, the point that you just touched on, you can study as much as you want, but realistically, things aren't going to really make sense until you're doing it. And so I wanted to kind of ask you about the several ways that you can profit in real estate. Obviously, you have your cash flow, you have your appreciation,
but I'm interested in the depreciation aspect, the tax benefit aspect of it. I've obviously been reading up a lot on the IRS website and what defines a second home, what defines an investment property, and the differences there with that.
Mhm.
And I'm just very curious about it because, I speak to my father a lot, and he speaks about, oh, you can only get 3, 4, 5% from this, 3, 4, 5% from this, and that's all he talks like as far as cash flow. But we don't talk about the taxes. We don't talk about what you can save. And I just want to get to know a little bit more about that. If you could clarify that.
Yeah. So when people are 3, 4, 5%, they're looking at either like states that aren't very good at returns. Like my investors, we're looking at getting a 6% year one on this $7.5 million project that's worth $11.5 million day one with $4 million in equity. So, you can find better deals than that. And so that's the interest. Obviously, then there's the appreciation, right? The appreciation, when we're talking about like 7% appreciation on the property, or right now Florida's it's achieving some areas 11% appreciation on property. That's in the full dollar amount. That's not on the portion that you put down, right? So if you bought $1 million property and you put down $200,000, when you're talking about 11% appreciation, we're talking about 11% on the million, not 11% on the down payment. So it's $110,000 of appreciation on a $200,000 down payment. So that's a 55% return right there on the money, in that scenario. So when we're talking about, so there's cash flow, money coming in, there's appreciation, the basically inflation causing the property to become more expensive. There is the mortgage being paid down, which builds up your equity that way. There is the tax the tax benefit, which the tax benefit could be different ways depending on how you're filing your taxes. But simply, if you are treating this as an investment property and you are not staying in it more than 14 days out of the year, I believe it's 14 days is the rule, you can have a loss, a full loss, as up to about $25,000 as a non-active participant that is not a real estate investor. And if you are a real estate investor and you say have like a real estate license, or you're materially participating in real estate in the sense of you're doing more than 750 hours a year, you then are not capped at the $25,000 loss.
And that's the safe harbor, right? What you just spoke about. If it's an actual business and you have like you're a real estate investor, and you're doing the 750, am I correct? Yeah,
you're doing 750, or you're licensed, right?
Okay.
Like if you're licensed, like a lot of ways people do is there's a professional who's working, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a business owner, and then the spouse is a real estate agent. So that's a good way where the spouse gets a real estate license. In that way, it can write off the husband's income.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And then if you're like, let's say that you're making, I don't know, $20,000 in cash flow, and that depreciation, let's say, is $25K, you can take that passive loss to offset your personal income, correct?
You can, active to active.
Okay.
But if it's not considered active income and it's considered passive income, and it's considered, passive income is against passive loss is against passive income.
Right.
So, but if it's active income, and an active loss can go against active income.
And when you say active and passive, just remind me what the two differences are.
So when it's a rental property on your tax return, on your personal tax return, it's going to ask you, are you an active participant? Yes. Are you a real estate investor? Yes. Then you'll be able to use it against it. But if you're in, say, in a partnership, and you are the limited partner and you are the passive partner, then you can't use that against your income as a job. You can only use $3,000 a year.
Gotcha.
So you have to like tell the partner, I want to be an active participant. And then they mark that on the K1 as an active participant. So then it's an active loss.
So essentially, if you're not an active participant, you're not an investor, you're not, anybody. You're just kind of somebody that's doing it on the side, and you have your job, and you're doing some investment property on this side.
Well, you can, even if you do it on the side, let me clarify. I had a full-time job and I was a full-time real estate investor. I did both. I had a full-time job and I had 23 units.
So you were considered active.
I was still active because every night and every weekend I was doing this.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, again, if you don't have 23 units and you want to be active and you want to be able to have that write-off, get a real estate license.
Gotcha. And as far as the whole 1031 situation where you're
so now we're going to a different realm. So just so you know, right now we're going to a different realm. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Were you done with the tax portion of?
Well, we're why I'm saying now that why I'm saying we're going to a different realm because 1031 is still tax portion.
Okay.
Because 1031 is tax, right? 1031 tax code. So it's still tax, but we're done. We're now going into a different section of tax. But go on.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask on that because it was interesting to read. You know, you read all these things, but you know, what does it actually mean about you know, that money, you know, whatever you sell the property for is sitting with an intermediary, right? And if you're not touching that money and you reinvest it right away, I think it was you find a seller in 6 months and sell in the next, I forget what it is, you would know. But
you have to find it within 45 days and the closing must be within 6 months.
And is that true that you would then take that entire amount and be able to put it into the property and defer those taxes?
That is correct. It's called a like-kind exchange. And with this like-kind exchange, you have an intermediary. So you sell your property, you then take the proceeds of that sale. You bought the property for $100,000. You depreciated it to zero. You sold the property for $200,000. All the proceeds from that sale goes to the intermediary, which is normally a company that's owned by a lawyer. Then you have, while you're doing it, you have 45 days to identify a like-kind exchange property. You know, you will go from a duplex to a 10 unit. You're going to say, I'm going to buy this 10 unit property and so on within 45 days. But let's just say you decide you don't want that 10 unit anymore. I'm not buying that 10 unit. I actually decided to buy the 6 unit. That's fine. You are now have that 6 unit under contract, and you must make sure that you close within 6 months of the sale date of your property. At that time, you bought that 6 unit for $600K. That $200K gets rolled into it, and you have that that basically basis, which is zero in this example, would be rolled in, and you have $400K of basis in that $600K purchase. So now you're depreciating.
Sorry, so it's got to be essentially an equal or more value.
Equal or greater value. You can. There is. Well, let me clarify. So this, what I just explained to you, is the basic 1031 exchange. There is drop down 1031 exchange where you can actually buy something less in value, but you must disclose it. And then you are not going to get the full tax benefit. You're going to pay some tax on a portion of the money.
Gotcha.
You know, so say you go from a 200K property to 150, you can roll that in and pay $50,000 of income tax on it.
And you'd be paying long-term and short-term capital gain tax.
It would be long-term capital gains.
Long-term.
The only time it's, go ahead.
You would have to do the 1031. You got to hold the property for over a year and then get taxed long-term, correct?
Well, you're now mixing a couple of things. When you owned the property and you're 1031ing it, it doesn't matter if you had it long or short. You're transferring the tax over. Now, long-term and short-term is if you sell without a 1031, and then you're going to pay long-term or short-term capital gains for a sale, period.
Gotcha.
But the long-term and short-term capital gains don't really come into play, because if you're doing a 1031 exchange, you're just doing an exchange. There is no tax. You're deferring the tax.
So it's essentially in its own category.
It is essentially in its own category. Now, if you screw it up and somehow have to pay the tax, then you basically did not comply by the rules of the 1031 and you dissolved it in a way, or you did not, apply by the rules. So now it doesn't count. So then it would be long-term or short-term. And that's why you have a good accountant and you have a good team, because they make sure that they handle all those things for you and help you, along the way. They don't handle it for you technically, but they advise you along the way and they assist you with it. So it's a team effort. Now you can actually do you can buy a property, state that it's for a 1031 exchange, and then sell your property after. You got that?
Yeah.
You got $200K in the bank. You bought the $600,000 property with your cash, but you say, hey, I'm using this property for a 1031 exchange against this prior property. And then you sell the prior property and then you get your cash back.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
You can do a split 401k up. You sell the property and you buy two properties with the money for the one. You can do a reverse split where you can use two properties and the money for the two properties to buy one. You could, you can do a lot of things.
Amazing.
You can do a lot of things. What else? There's a couple of different cool things you can do. There's a lot of different cool things you can do, right? But again, that's what your team's for. Or you can do a cost segregation. Like, say you lost your 6 months. You could not close within 6 months. You could do a cost segregation model and with a good cost segregation model, you could write off $200K on the $600,000 property, hypothetically, and then that loss would wipe the gain.
Absolutely. Just one last question, if that's okay, Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for answering those questions. You spoke the other day about getting to know your state laws before you're getting into real estate. So in regards to that, like I, for example, live in New York. You talked about how California is no good unless the deals are amazing. New York is no good. And obviously you'd love to invest in Florida. Obviously you hear people say, it's hard to take care of business or property if you're not there, or not in that particular area to actually manage those properties. So how would you recommend one going about finding out what your laws are in your state and going about investing in states that you don't live in and that you possibly might not be getting to for a couple months out of the year? So
part one, obviously you're going to contact your local realtors, your local lawyers, and get that information from figuring out the rules are for your state. The normal comment I'm saying is I don't like investing in states that are not friendly for your business. So all of the blue states are not landlord friendly. So they're not in my favor. So if it's not in my favor, I look at any business to be related to pros and cons. So if we're looking at this business and the state's not in my favor and the property needs a lot of work and the tenants aren't, could not pay me and all these there's a lot of problems. There either has to be a lot of money in the rent, which now you're being paid for your risk through the rent. High cap rate means usually there's a lot of problems in the area. Or I'm going to be paid by the sale price because there's so much upside potential to justify the risk. Now, most of the people that I know that are in New York, New Jersey, they flip homes. They don't rent homes. Because you buy the house, you bulldoze the property, you build a brand new one, and you sell it. So that's it. My exposure is how long is it going to take me to get permitting and building and so on, and contractors and so on. There's those risks are acceptable to a lot of people that I know up north. In Florida, it's harder to do that business, to buy an old building, bulldoze and build something and make money. It's only downtown cores and waterfront property is there that type of value. Or the other way is if you have enough money and you're building a whole community. You're building a 30, 50, 100, 300, 1,000 home community. Those are the niches. So unless you have that type of money, you're going to be doing, value add deals, and then you're going to, that's money on there, and there's money in renting. So why I make my conclusions is from the analysis, right? I look at the return, I see what it justifies based off of risk, based off of time, and then I make my decision on what do I want to do based off of risk and based off time. Now, regarding buying property outside of your state, normally you have to have a really good realtor that that's going to do an amazing job, or you're going to have like a partner. Most people end up having a partner in the state. That's what the whole, my investment group is, where, people don't want to do the work themselves. They have their own profession, and they just decide to do it with me. Because in my course, I teach, look, here's all the information you need to know to do it. And once you're ready to do it, I'll do your taxes, your bookkeeping, your payroll. If you buy properties in Florida, I'll do your property insurance. I'll create your LLC. I'll handle everything A to Z. And we do taxes across the country. And we'll do mortgages. We'll do your mortgage, your purchase, your refinance, and we'll help you grow that portfolio. If you don't want to do all of that, but you still want to be involved, you can partner with us on deals. And, we'll help either way. You want to do it all, we'll help you all, or you don't want to do it all, you're just too busy and you just want to partner with us on deals. Because most of the time when I look at people's deals that they're doing, they would make more money just investing with us than them doing all that work. And that's ignoring the time. I'm not even calculating literally the hours it would take them to do it. I'm just saying straight return off of straight return. My return doing it is higher than them doing it. And that ignores the 1,000 hours that they took to get in, to do all the work and to get involved, and the headache and the problems. And that ignores the money they could make working the job, by them actually putting more hours at their job. If you spent this time doing overtime, you would have made all this extra money. So now, adding in the fact that you spent no time with you and you have more free time to either work more at work or spend time with your family, it ends up being, double, triple the profit than they would if they did it themselves. So there is a satisfaction, right? There's a part where people will do it. They'll do a couple of deals and they'll have fun. And after a while, they're like, okay, that was fun, but I'm not making that much money, because I have guys working for me. I pay my guys $15 an hour to do repairs and construction and stuff. You hire someone, you're going to pay $35, $40, $50, $60 an hour. It's just, it is what it is. I give them volume, it's just what it is. I get volume discounts. So, and I get deals, I find deals fast, and I buy the great deals. So by the time someone that's working a job hears about a deal, it's already gone. The $7.5 million property that we're working on right now, I got it under contract day one. It's a private school. This private school, it's going to be hard for any other person to buy this property because I was able to see it before the school started. Now they have students in there. This is a government program. So you're going to probably have to do a background search to get in there. And the last point for me, I actually know the manager of the school because she's my tenant at another property. So there's certain things that I have that are able to be benefits. Now, for all the people out there that are I want to be like Pascal, I want that. You got to understand that when I was starting, when I was 19 years old, I wanted that too. I saw some people getting some sick deals and I was like, that's not even fair. Now, again, they didn't cheat, but it just felt wow, it would be so cool to be able to get something like that. But when you put in 20 years into the game, you get benefits of being 20 years in the game. You get, your name precedes you, So And then like, I don't know, it's kind of cool because when I go downtown, it's like, all right, I own that building, I own that building. Everybody knows I own this stuff. And then like I'm going to the restaurant, I power lift. And then the guys delivering liquor that everybody knows, these guys that deliver liquor know me because I power lift with them. So now I'm like, everybody, we're on a first name basis. And then like people that own other commercial properties will be like, hey, you know, how's your property doing? Good, good. How's your property? Good, good. You know, we're talking to our accountant about selling, you know.
Absolutely.
They're feeling me out. Like, are you interested? Can I come to you?
Your
You know,
network is your net worth, you know, definitely. And it's not what you know, it's who you know, definitely.
it is, but at the same time, like your credibility, you know, it takes a lifetime to build it in a moment to lose it.
Right.
So when people know me, like if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, you know, like we're gonna make this deal happen. I'm gonna make the deal happen. Now, unless I do an inspection and find out there's like it's trash and they like withheld something, like I'll be like, yo, tell me what's wrong right now. I will tell you what I'm gonna pay you for the property. And you know, oh, there's nothing wrong, or this, that. I was like, okay, fine, I'll give you what you're asking. I don't care. Like I'm gonna, like if something's bad, AC's bad, I'm gonna change the AC anyway. Or the roof is bad, I already know it's bad, I'm gonna change it anyway. So, you know, Larry, it's losing your credibility. You don't want to lose your credibility. You know, you want to be known to be a man of your word. And that's still a bit in the real estate game. It's an old school game. Like you better be a man of your word, because that is still a place where it's means a lot.
Definitely. I appreciate the insight. I mean, this is all great info. You know, like I said, you can only do so much reading, and you know, until you get on here with somebody that really knows what they're doing, and you realize that, you know, there's just so much to learn. And I like what you said about the partnering up, because, you know, like you said, it's old school, you know, but you know, some people are nervous, you know, they don't confide in people. They're nervous. It's their life savings. It's their money. But really, when it comes down to it, sometimes some things do make sense, you know.
I'll tell you this. So I know this doctor, and his cousin is a mentor of mine. And so I went and hung out with this doctor, and he's like, you know, I'm like, so what are you looking to invest in this deal? And you know, he's like, well, because I'm like, anyway, I'm like, what are you looking to invest? He's like, well, no more than 250,000, which is like, you know, no more than that much money. I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, I'm not looking to, you know, I don't want anyone to be involved in anything they don't want to be involved in, because I don't want to have any headache later saying, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, no, you basically have to beg me to be involved, and then I will be okay with working with you. So, all right, so let's go hang out. We went downtown. We went and had like dinner, you know, ate. Some other people were supposed to show up. There were 2 other doctors supposed to show up. Both of them got called in to work, so it was just me and him. And we're just talking, walking around, talking, enjoying downtown. You know, if you imagine, this is a downtown market. It's beautiful, like gorgeous. You're on the water. You're overlooking the Tampa skyline. It's like 70 degrees at night. People are walking around having a great time. No, you know, some people are wearing masks. A lot of people are not wearing masks. And everyone's just living life. And he just came from like, I forgot where, but he came from up north, like 4, 5, 6 months ago. He moved down. So he sees the property. We walk around and we're just talking. And then he's like, he basically told me, he's like, look, I did a real estate deal with someone else. We bought land. And I'm not going to say who, because I think you know who it is. And it didn't work out, you know. And I said, well, I definitely understand, you know, that feels uncomfortable. And that's another rule where I do not buy land and sit on it. I just don't buy land, because you're buying real estate for a cash flow. So you're going to buy a property, get a loan on it, and then pay money out of your pocket every month. It just doesn't make sense, you know? So we're like talking. He's like, but this area, he's like, and he's looking around and he's like walking around. He's like, this area, it's never going to be bad. This area is always going to be, you know, good. You're on the water. You're right by Tampa. You're right by the medical school. He's like, this is always going to be good. He's like, yeah, I think 500,000, maybe 750, maybe $1 million. And I was like, calm down. Don't put a lot in one deal. Spread it around. 500,000, that's cool. And then just seed money for the next deal and next deal, because you want to diversify what you have. You don't want to put everything in one deal. Now, when you're young, let me side note, when I was young, I put every single dollar into one deal because that's all I had. I had $30K, and how am I going to put $30K into 5 deals? So I put it all in one deal. But when you're at the point where you have like $2 million, okay, put 500, 400 into like 5 deals. And then you can have 5 different deals, you know, diversifying your risk. So anyway, like what I'm trying to get to, the point that I'm trying to make with you right now is sometimes you just got to go and see it. You literally have to come, see the property, touch it, walk the neighborhood, and then you're like, wow, I own that. It's a different feel, you know? And when you know I own that. Now, regarding partnerships and everything else, lawyers and documentation, right? Like if you're going to register, I'm not sure how it is in New York, but in Florida, when you're registered as a partner, you go to the state website, and on the state website, it says your name underneath underneath that business. So it's not like, you know, oh, do I own it? Well, no, my name's right there.
Awesome insight, man. Awesome. And you were saying the Florida's average appreciation percent is 11%, you were saying?
For the last 2 years, it was 10 to 11% in many counties.
Wow. Do you see these home prices stabilizing out a little bit? I mean, the interest rates are crazy. The federal funds rate is crazy low.
Yeah, rates are raising. Rates are going up. Rates are going up. Like right now, the rates are like, it's, you know, the 10 years going up. So, like I said, I do refinances. Get your refinance in because rates are going up. It's still pretty good, right? It's still pretty good. Like it's still 2.69 to like 3.25, but it was 2.5 to 2.99. So we're talking about like a quarter a point on each side. So this is what's happening. Every day, 10,000 people turn 65 in America. Every day. This is like a 15-year trend. So for the next 15 years, people are moving to Florida, Arizona, Texas, Tennessee, you know. They're moving to places where they don't have income taxes. And people are also moving to areas that are downtown cores because if they're not going to work in an office, they're going to work from home somewhere really nice. Each spouse makes like $125, $150 a year, so they have money. They want to be comfortable. And then since they don't see people in the office face to face, they want to walk to downtown to get lunch. They want to go and walk downtown to walk their dog and you know, get dinner. See some people, without masks on. And then when they're done and they're bored of people, they want to go back home, you know? So that's the trend. Like if you think about it, say you have money and you're stuck at home. How much money would you pay to live in an area that you're like, okay, I can walk 2 streets over and I'm on the water and it's nice and it's a dog park and there's 3 different breweries I can go here that they brew their own beer and I can try it and everything has great food. Everyone's great food. And then I can just walk back home and there's no income tax.
Yeah.
So now people they're like, I'm getting a lot of young people coming down here too, renting for 3 to 6 months because they're like work from home. They don't have to go to the office anymore. And a lot of businesses, high paying businesses are saying, you don't need to work close. You need to live close by. So not only are retired people coming with money, but young people are coming with money. And you have to go where the sale is like the wind is behind your back. So I'm investing heavy in downtown core markets because the wind is behind your back there. So, you know, where you're going to go, where you hope it's going to happen? No, you're going to go where it's going to happen. Like, so some people are like, well, Pascal, you normally don't buy properties that are like 7.5 cap properties. You buy properties that are like, you know, really damaged, and then you make them into 10 or 12 cap properties or 8 cap year one, and then higher, like pretty aggressively. And why are you buying this property? I said, well, one, it has $4 million built in equity day one. And then two, the potential for this property in the downtown core market is like significant. It's so important to be in an area where I'm in position to get all the benefits from this growth. So put yourself in position to win. Put yourself in a position of growth. You know, some people will buy deals in the rural area or in the hood, and they hope, they're going to make money from cap or whatever. I said, well, you're hoping. I learned, don't hope. Go where you know it's going to win and make it even better.
When you're saying cap, can you just define
capitalization rate?
Oh, okay.
Capitalization rate. So when you go for, normally if you get a high cap property, it's because there's a lot of problems.
So like you were just talking about houses in the hood, stuff like that you expect.
Or rural areas. So high cap areas. I mean, but in reality, this commercial property is a 7.5 cap. That's a high cap rate for a commercial property in a downtown core market. Normally they'll go for 5 caps. So based off of what normal cap is 11.5. Based off of rebuild cost, it's 11.5. I mean,
It's crazy. Well, thank you, Pascal. Obviously, I don't want to take up your whole time. I'm sure there's some upset people trying to get into your live here.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.
You too. So let's get some questions here. Team Ambition. Best way to market for tenants. Airbnb, Zillow, Craigslist, things like that. All right. Ronald has some questions. It says, I purchased my primary residence a year ago for $400K. Do you recommend refinancing now out of FHA into a conventional to get rid of the PMI and next year do a cash out refi? Donald, I renovated the kitchen, bathrooms, and flooring throughout the house. My goal is to cash out next year for an investment property. So Ronald, it's not advisable to do multiple refinances because when you're doing multiple refinances, you got fees every time you're doing it. You're looking at let's just say $10,000 in fees each time. So you're doing 10,000 once, 10,000 again. That's $20,000. So it's not advisable. Now, do I think that the home prices are going to go up 2 straight years in a row, double digits? That's going to be tough to say that you could cash out refi in 2 years. It's possible, but it's difficult to say that without knowing for sure. What I will say is be considerate of fees when you're making these decisions. You don't want to eat up all your profit for, keep on adding on these fees to your loan. When you're ready for a refi, DM me. I'll be happy to help you with that refi. Let's see some more questions. Saul says, should I invest money from my job to make a business and then use the revenues from the business to invest? So you're basically saying, should you work, use that cash to invest in a business, and then use that money to invest? So that's called having a job, right? The business is your side hustle, and then using that money for your side hustle to invest and possibly in passive income. So yes, that's a good idea. What you must consider is how much money you're going to make from the business, how much time is it going to take away from your job. Depending on how much you're making in your job, it could be a good idea or it could be a bad idea. You have to really determine that. And or you can invest right away in a passive manner where you're making good money from your job and then you're getting passive income from the other business. Calculate it. See what works out best for you. So Zach says, I want to buy a duplex in New York where I live for $300 to $400K. Are shitty looking in New York City. If I'm approved, I read the question. All right. In New York City, if I'm approved for 678 loan, all right, I can't read all of the message. It got cut off. So, so just because it's 400K and it doesn't look that great, you can still buy it for 400K, remodel it, and add value to it. So you can always upgrade the property. You can't upgrade the location. So remember that. So when I'm saying, an undesirable property, you got to remember that you want an undesirable building in a desirable location, because you could upgrade the building. You can't upgrade the location. Ronald says, I'll DM you my info for the refi. Sounds good. Hey, what's up?
Hey, Pascal, how you doing?
Doing good. Doing the luckiest guy in the world. Everything I do, he ends up winning everything. So he won a PS5. He won the course. He won, I don't know. He won it all.
Yeah, and I also want to say thank you, and also my little cousin. I appreciate the gift also. So he's very happy so far. So I appreciate the thing, everything. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank God. How are you doing?
I'm not well. So take on it, working. So I had a few questions for you. So I've been reading a lot of books and watching your videos, YouTube also. And I know, because I'm a realtor, I have the realtor mindset. But now I'm trying to switch into an investor mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard because, when you try to help and sell, it's two different things. So I know it always says when you're trying to start buying an investment, try to do the 4-3-2-1. So like the quadruplex, the triplex, or duplex in the first one. But let's say you can't find any triplex or duplex. Is it bad to get the single family first and rent it?
So I'm going to say this, like everybody for the last forever has said, I can't find a multi-unit, right? Mm-hmm. This is something I've heard for like forever, right? I've always heard that. Mm-hmm. And the reason is anything good is hard to find. Right. That's it. It's anything good is hard to find. So, and I say, I find a good deal once every 6 to 12 months. So if you haven't been looking 6 to 12 months and at it hard, aggressively, then you're not going to find it, right? And then you're just going to go for what's easier and what everybody does, which is a house. And you're going to get the easier, what everybody get, returns. Now, if you want the better returns that people don't normally get, you got to go after it like the way people normally don't and get what people normally don't get, which is the extras, the benefits, and what you're looking for. Because most likely, remember, everything we're doing here, you have a vision. And this vision wasn't mediocre results, and it isn't a mediocre future. So it requires, something better than a mediocre effort. Not questioning your abilities or your efforts, but you understand what I'm saying. Whatever we're doing, we better step it up to the next level so we can get what we want out of life. And so, can you default back to a single unit? Yeah, it's you could, but remember. The first deal is usually the easiest deal. So do you want to take the easy route and then jeopardize, getting a multi-unit? Because the second I was like, I'm going to take this deal. And then, all right, no, I'm not going to do it. They're not giving me a good deal. I'm letting it go. And then what happens? An amazing deal shows up, and I'm like, thank God I didn't take that other deal because this is way better. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. So, so I know you do refinance. What do you think about, I know there might be a crash coming soon. So I know you was telling the other gentleman about the HELOC. They might drop the rate. The price, let's say you had a 15,000 and now they give you 10,000. So it's not, let's say I own a home, right? And I want to do a HELOC on it. to purchase an investment. Do you recommend that at the moment? Or not?
I don't recommend it because the other reason is this. There's more than one reason. It's, let's just say you have $100,000 property. No, I'm sorry, that's a bad example. You have a $400,000 property and you owe $150 on it. And then you go get a HELOC for $100,000. So now you have a $150 first mortgage, $100,000 second mortgage. Use that $100,000 to buy another property for the down payment for your investment property. All right. The thing is, one, they can't really reduce that limit because you already pulled out all the money and you spent it.
Yeah.
The issue is when you have the $100,000 there and you're planning to use that $100,000 for, you know, things that happen, vacancies, repairs, and so on, and then they shrink it from 100,000 to 20. So it's not 15 to 10. No, it goes from 100,000 to $20,000 line of credit. You were planning to use that line of credit for something else and you don't. You're planning to use that line of credit to buy more deals when the market drops. You can't because they wiped it away. Right. So when the equity wipes away, lines of credit wipe away. And normally lines of credit wipe away first. They wipe away first and then equity wipes away. Because when you cannot get loans, equity disappears because the equity is based off of the amount of loans that are available. If we, I'm a side note, guys, if America went to no debt, you cannot have any debt for real estate. Real estate would drop to like 25% of what it is today. You wouldn't be paying $400,000 for a house, you'd pay $100 because if you have to pay cash, that's it, right? Or maybe 50%. It would go to 50% because what happened is there's some people out there with a lot of cash and they're going to give like hard money loans and they're going to charge like 8, 10, 12, 15%. People are going to use those loans to buy real estate. So now, back to what we were saying. We were talking about, now I forgot what I was talking about. The HELOC. So now, so now this is the scenario. You have a $150,000 first mortgage, you have a $100,000 HELOC. Your HELOC right now is say 5.5%, 6%. Interest rates are going up or down right now? They're going up. So if you have a HELOC, a short-term loan, and you're using it as a down payment on a long-term investment, that HELOC is going to go to 7%, 8%, maybe 9% as interest rates rise. And what's happening to your profitability? Your profitability is going down because your interest is going up, your payments are going up. So why do I think Dave Ramsey is wrong? He is wrong because he used short-term loans for long-term investments. He got a bunch of boat loans and car loans, and he went bankrupt because he made bad decisions. And now, because he got addicted to debt, and he's a debt addict, he says no one else can have debt. Well, no, like we aren't addicted to debt and we're not doing crazy stuff. We should be making smart decisions because if you're not using debt in the smart way, this inflation that's going to happen, this hyperinflation, you're going to get bulldozed underneath it because your money is going to be worthless. Yeah. So the point is, you never use short-term loans for a long-term investment. It's just like you're asking for trouble. So some people do it, but you better be talented at it. Like you better be good at it, right? Because again, something happens, you're going to get caught.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And another question I had, so let's say I'm buying my first property and say it's a duplex. It's an investment, all of that. I know everybody has a different feedback on this. Some say buy under your name. Some say under your LLC. Some also say buy under your name. After that, change it to the LLC. But when you do that, the bank might call the loan on you. It might, but we don't know.
So one, if you get an FHA loan, there's like almost no chance you're going to put it into LLC's name.
You're right.
Up front, not happening. 0 chance. You get a conventional loan from any bank, right? You're talking about, hey, I want a 2.69 or 2.99 rate on an investment property. 0 chance of you getting that in an LLC name. So let's just start there, right? Like these are facts. Next scenario. You buy it. You either buy the property in your personal name and then roll it into the LLC, or you currently own the property in the LLC's name, which I did. I converted it back to my personal name at the closing, got the lower interest rate, then switched it back to the LLC's name after closing. And in that scenario, you must tell your broker, you must tell me when I'm doing the loan for you that you're going to do that up front. Then I'm going to get a bank that allows that, because not everyone allows that. But if I know up front, I will know which bank allows that. Now, if you do not, be careful. There's a clause that says if you switch the ownership out of your name into someone else's name, they can call the loan due and you need to pay them back all their money immediately.
Right.
So be careful. Be careful. Part 2, if you have good liability insurance, and again, that's why I have an insurance company, you don't really need an LLC like that, So I do have properties I have LLCs on and I have insurance on. There's some properties that are in my personal name that I just have good insurance, have $1 million policies. $1 million liability policy is like $300 a year. It's not a lot of money. So it's not like, when people think about the costs, Now, a good accountant, when they're doing an LLC, that's an 1120S LLC, that's going to cost you like $800 to $1,200 a year for the tax filing. That could be worth it if you have enough. But if you only have one fourplex, you don't really need to spend the money. So a lot of times when I'm giving people advice, I save them money because I tell them, look, you don't need to do this, this, and that, because you're just wasting time. You're wasting money. You're not there yet. But when you're ready to be there, I'll tell you, you should do this because it's going to help you. And normally, most of my advice is involving saving time and saving someone money, so they can scale faster. So that's why a lot of people will consult with me. Like people that have a lot of properties, like another guy up north has like 65 units. He consults with me so I can help him scale faster. And since we've been talking, I think he's expanded his portfolio about 20% in the last year. So save time, save money. You don't need to be like, there's a lot of tricks in the game, but most of the times they're not really needed until later in the game.
Thank you. And I'll be in touch too about the refinance and keep it that way. Well, thank you for all your knowledge and everything you've been giving to us. I appreciate it.
Awesome, brother. I hope you have a great night and God bless.
All right, you too.
So guys, it's been a great night. I'm glad I'm able to answer all your questions. I know you guys have a lot more questions. Make sure that you come back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be happy to answer all your questions. If you need help with filing taxes anywhere in the country, need mortgages, purchases, or refinances, DM me. Happy to help. I have my course, Foundations of Personal Finance, link in the bio. Good luck. God bless. See you guys next time.